Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Eat Coffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me a very special guest, Michael Buzinski. He is the CEO of Buzzbizz Media, an award-winning marketing firm based in Anchorage, Alaska. And currently, he's moved to Chicago, right, Michael?
Just south of Chicago in Springfield,
Just south of Chicago. Yeah. And he's a renowned digital marketing expert and best-selling author. He has earned a reputation as a marketing visionary. His groundbreaking concept, the Rule of 26, has helped countless businesses double their website revenue. Join me today as I chat with Michael on his journey, his vision for the industry, and his mission to help entrepreneurs achieve digital marketing success. Michael, I know you go by Buzz. So that's your nickname, so I'm going to call you Buzz throughout the interview. And I know you're okay with that, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, so just curious, how would your university professors describe you as a student?
They wouldn't, because they never met me.
Oh.
I went to University of Phoenix online courses. I was actually in the middle of building my first agency while I was going to college after the Air Force.
Wow, that's so
I got out in
neat.
2005, started a recording studio. I was a working musician from 13 to 28. Decided
From 13 to 28, you were a working musician.
I was a jazz trombonist, a recording jazz trombonist at the age of 13.
Okay.
That broke up when everybody went to high school. So then I picked up a guitar. Within the year we were playing, I had a little punk band that played odd gigs. It was my first time I ever played for anything. For compensation was these giant cookies, M&M cookies. Each of us got one of those and a bottle of Snapple. That was our first paid
That was
gig.
your compensation.
That was our compensation. I think we're
wow.
15, maybe. I might have been 16 by then, because I think I had a car. So I was 15 and a half, I think. So yeah, it was right around 15, 16 years old. And we played at the San Francisco University at their prophylactic art show. And so there's all of this prophylactic art in front of us in this big hall, and we're on a stage playing punk rock.
Kind of a disconnect.
We had people coming from the quad coming into the hall, so we did our job.
There you go. That's pretty amazing. So from 13 to 28, but I know you said you were in the military. So were you in the military?
I was always working on music. I got into marketing actually right around 16 as well.
Wow.
So I cut my teeth at Bass TM Tickets, which is now called Ticketmaster. They're headquartered in Concord, California. Yep.
Yeah.
And Guitar Center. I did sales and marketing Guitar Center as well. And Olin Mills Portrait Studios. I was an area supervisor for 7 studios, ran 7 studios for them in Northern California. I did all that
when you were doing. How old were you when? Wow. How did you get started in marketing then at such a young age? What drew you to it?
Sales. Yeah. So I grew up on a farm until I was 12 and a half, something like that. Okay. So right up to 6th grade, parents got divorced, moved with my dad into Sacramento, California. So I got introduced to the city life. One of the things he said was, I will put clothes on your back, put food in your belly, a roof over your head. Anything else? Go get a job. Yeah. And so
he taught you to be an entrepreneur.
In California at the time was the earliest you could get a job. And we had just moved to Concord, California, and I went and got a job at Burger King. And so I did not last long in Burger King. No, because it's just it was boring. I think I was there for maybe 8 months to a year or something like that. And so my next job was not in food. And I'm not doing this anymore. But I worked my way up from bussing tables at Burger King all the way up to cashier. And I was the youngest cashier on their staff. And I was one of their most accurate cashiers on their staff, because I could count. I didn't know that was an actual thing. Like I thought everybody could. But anyway, long story short, sales is the easiest thing to get into if you do not have an education or any experience. Yep. Because people who sell things, their companies sell things, will take anybody who's willing to try. Because back then you could pretty much work for nothing. Minimum wage back then was $3.35.
Wow.
And so that's all they had to pay you. Right. Yeah.
I made $4.25 an hour. No, $3.75. $3.75 an hour.
That was your first job.
There
you go. Yeah. And so through the years, I just worked my way up through those. I went back to food later in my high school just for ease. just the hours at
Tips.
night that I could get versus the day job stuff and
Mhm.
whatnot. But by the time I was 17, I actually dropped out of high school and went to work for Olin Mills full time, and then got recruited by Guitar Center, and then got re-recruited back to Olin Mills. They got re-recruited back from Guitar Center. So I kept this ladder of promotions between two companies, which was great. And so I ended up as the youngest assistant manager of any Guitar Center at the time in San Francisco when they were on ninth mission. So that lasted until it didn't.
And you were doing
the operations manager.
You were doing in-house sales?
I was doing in-house sales and marketing. So I was in charge of training salespeople, doing the marketing, in-store marketing, helping with the professional musicians who would come in. So I had Kurt Hammett was one of my personal clients, but I would service all the bands who come through town, like Green Day, Four Non-Blondes, Metallica, UB40, Van Halen. All as they was coming through, they needed things. I had to deal with all of that stuff. Did all the marketing and merchandising for the store, those types of things. For Olin Mills, that was the same thing. It was sales and marketing.
Fascinating.
That's back when there was the same. It was like the same department. It was sales and marketing, not sales, then marketing. But then I joined the service, but all that time I was always playing, always in a band. The ultimate goal was to become a rock star, but at 5'6" and moderately talented and always a step behind the trends. I was, that's another story for another day. But and I ended up in the military because I was hitting all of these ceilings at the time to get like an actual mid-management job in one of these big companies. You had to have a degree. You had to, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit and rot on your branches for 4 years. So
I hear you. I hear you, because I don't have a degree either. I know you went back and got one, and I've thought about it. I got a diploma. But do you think things would have been easier had you have gotten a degree, Michael?
I don't think I'd be where I'm at today if I would have stayed and got a degree and tried to work in those. One of those companies doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Olin Mills doesn't. I don't think it exists. I don't think so.
Probably not. No.
It was one of the largest, if not the largest, portrait studio in the country at the time.
Wow.
And then Guitar Center is gone pretty corporate. I probably would have, if I stayed at Guitar Center, it might have been easier, but I don't know. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay. Have you always known? Okay. So it sounds like you and I are similar. I got my first job bussing tables. Actually, I had a first paper out when I was 12 and my first job in a restaurant when I was 14. And I've always been an entrepreneur. Has it been the same thing? You've always had this?
Yeah. My first gig as an entrepreneur was picking up walnuts for my grandfather on my farm and the farm in Chico, California. He paid me $1.25 per gunny sack. And so that was my first taste of making my own money at the age of 7. And then music is an entrepreneurial endeavor. Sure. You're marketing yourself, you're getting gigs, you're creating art that you want to sell and all that good stuff. And then I went into the Air Force to get out of California and get a degree. And I was like, I got to get a degree in something. And I didn't know that. And I had my own photography company for a minute that basically did outdoor portraiture. So we'd go and climb on rocks and in the mountains and stuff like that, and do, high school portraits in the wild instead of in the studio and stuff like that. So I always had something a little bit different. Yeah, but of course. I didn't know that I could be a full-time entrepreneur until I got out of the Air Force. I went into the Air Force at 22, got out at 31. I was in 9.5 years. All that time, I was helping some of my friends as they were getting out, market their businesses. I was marketing my bands, out releasing albums, doing those types of things. And I got into recording. I had my first computer was actually bought so that I could record digitally. And so I built up a digital studio in my bedroom while I was an airman in the Air Force. And so I got really good at it. I ended up having a good ear for it. And the technology was easy for me. And so by the time I got out, I was like, I'm not hireable because I didn't get that degree I was supposed to get while I was had way too much fun in the Air Force. And so I was like, I'm going to have to go do something else. And so one of my friends is like, I don't see you becoming a rock star, but I see you managing rock stars. I was like, I would hate to babysit rock stars. They're a pain in the butt to babysit. So I was like, but the next best thing was record them and help them get better results than I was able to get out of the studios that I recorded in. And that was my first mission, was to help working musicians get quality recordings and on budgets they could actually afford. So
was that the first? So was that your first business that you started?
That was my first full-time business in 2005. Started Buzzbizz Studios, Anchorage, Alaska, even out.
Wow.
Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why I decided. I stayed in Alaska because I loved Alaska, and there was no other place to go and start the business. And I had seeded my business moonlighting as a sound engineer for at local bars that had live music for a few years prior to me getting out. So I had already built up a reputation as a sound engineer in Anchorage.
There you go.
And so by the time I opened up, one of my first tactics was they had these units that would record live to CD. So kind of like recording on a tape in the old days. You could record directly. Yeah. So there was this failing.
Dating ourselves.
Yeah. So there was this failing bar in Eagle River. And I was like, we could do Battle of the Bands on Wednesdays. So nobody's here. So who cares? And I'll bring in 4 or 5 bands. So now you have 20 people minimum that are going to be here drinking booze, right? Ordering food, and plus they're fans, and they're going to bring as many people as possible so they can get the votes to win the competition. Yeah. So I would recruit 4 or 5 bands, and I would record them, and I would plug at the output of the soundboard into the CD burner. So at the end of their set, I had a branded CD because I printed all my information on it. And then I put their name on it and the date that they did it. I said, here you go. And so they had a live recording that I created for them live. And I said, and if you came into the studio, I could do even better. And they're like, oh my gosh, Michael, this is awesome. So I actually at one point had a multi-track recorder that would plugged into there so I could actually remix their live stuff. And they would pay me extra to do that if they didn't want to pay to come in and record at the studio. So that's how I cut my teeth, but while I was still in the Air Force. And then I opened up my studio after that. But by the end of the first year, I made $72,000. I kept $22,000 of it to live off of. And I realized that living off of starving musicians was a bad business plan. Lots of work. That is
not true. A lot of picking a target market is, but hey, you learned.
Oh yeah.
You learned so much from doing that.
You would think I would learn better because my next target was small businesses, which don't have a lot of money either.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I built a multi-million-dollar company serving micro to small businesses in Alaska. We ended up spanning out across the United States as digital and remote work was able. That was capable, the capability of coming, right? Digital marketing became a thing by 2007, 2008. I was an early pioneer of that. Yeah. I used to actually teach digital marketing at the local Anchorage Chamber of Commerce, and the agencies would send their employees to go listen to what I was saying because they hadn't adopted digital marketing yet. They didn't have strategy.
How did you learn? How did you learn it?
Just
I
was a tinkerer.
Did you launch your own site and just like, for instance, Kyle Roof learned about SEO. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he learned it from launching his own website with Lorem Ipsum text and a word that wasn't in Google's index.
It was a lot of that. I built my first website when I was in the Air Force in 1999. So by the time we were building websites, I stopped. That was my last website I ever personally built. So I hired people. Huh?
Yeah. In 1999, that was the last website.
1999, I built my own website for Buzzbizz Studios. It was the last website I ever physically built by myself. Now, I've designed hundreds of websites for myself, mainly because by the time I had a team, I had other people. I was an entrepreneur. I'm not supposed to be doing the actual work.
No, you're not.
Right? I'm supposed to be marketing the work. I'm supposed to be finding the best fits for the business. I'm supposed to be recruiting people who are better than me. Yes. I've always made it a point to be just smart enough to be dangerous and then surround me with people who are geniuses at the things that we're going to offer. So I'm a strategist, right? Yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur and a strategist. So if I have a strategy that's going to work, and I'd find the people who can execute it, and then I'm going to go market that strategy with the know-how to a target market that needs it. Because I've never sold anything as a entrepreneur. It's always finding people who have a need for something, and I fill that need either with a solution or a product that they want. And then that's what we're supposed to do. So that's what we did. So I built out basically a full-fledged media production house. We had our own print shop, had web developers, graphic designers, photography, and audio studio, all in this 2,400 square foot area in this old dilapidated commercial building in Midtown Anchorage. Yeah, it's hilarious, but it worked until we grew out of that. and we kept building it out. But then over the years, people started hearing about Buzz knows a lot about marketing. Or I would just get in conversations like, how are you using XYZ that we're producing for you? And because I had imposter syndrome back then. I had it bad. And so I didn't think I was qualified to give marketing. So I gave it away. I like, this is my opinion. And they would use it. It would work. And they're like, wow, that was a great idea. Any other ideas, Buzz? And over a while, and then I found out that giving it away to get to production didn't always work. I would end up giving the ideas, and then they would run to an agency who would then take everything over because they have their people that they liked. So eventually we started offering the services as a paid service, because then we could control, whoever controls the budget controls the production. And so I grew it into accidentally, technically, into a creative agency. It was a multi-million-dollar creative agency. We had 13,000 square foot facility downtown Anchorage. We did everything in-house.
Is it not there anymore? Because you see it saying did past tense.
No, I could close that down. I grew it broke. And so by the 2018, I shut the doors. So basically, I had a multi-million-dollar company, and I was paying myself less than six figures. That's called entrepreneur poverty.
There's so many things to unpack here. Okay, so first of all, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Sales. Was there a person that, like, I learned from Tom Hopkins how to sell. I learned from Brian Tracy. I learned from Zig Ziglar. Some books I read. I also learned from being in restaurants and learning how to sell food. Did sales just come naturally to you? Or was there any training?
It comes back to, so when I sold guitars, and portraits, okay,
yes,
it was natural to me only due to the fact that I didn't sell anything. I was never there sitting in front of people saying, you're going to spend this much money with me. What I did was I found how much value were they willing to invest in this particular time.
Yeah.
So in Portrait Studio and Olin Mills, their tactic was cold call as many people to get them into the studio for a free session, and they get a free 8 by 10 portrait. Okay. Now we want as many people in the studio so that we have all these individual groupings and all the other stuff. So the sales starts in the studio. Okay. And I was an amateur photographer. So it was really easy for me to get into that. Okay. So then we'd get these families in the whole night. Then a week later, we'd have proofs and all of those groupings and everything. And so we would show them all of the options. Okay. I'm very good at the creative side of where are you going to use this? Who can use this? Who else needs it? Just asking the questions. Keep asking the questions. They rack up their bill. Okay. Now, okay, done. And they didn't understand it. I was like, you just ask questions until there's no more questions to ask. And either they're going to buy or they're not. You're not going to talk somebody into buying. The one time I talked somebody into buying, they spent over $1,000. They came back and they blamed me for spending the $1,000.
Yeah.
They're like, they pushed me into it. I was like, I didn't push shit. I was like, you had ambitions for what you were going to do with all of these portraits for your granddaughter. And then you got hype. You know, you were in the hype. You were in the moment.
We call it the ether. Ether. Like in the car industry, we call it, they're in the ether. They're in that moment where they're
guitars are the same way.
And
And guitars and cars are a lot alike. It's because you fall in love with the image that you have when you're either in the vehicle driving it or having it wrapped around your body. The nicer the guitar, the better you feel as a guitarist.
For sure.
And so I would always put the best that I knew, because I'd ask the questions like, how much are you looking to spend? I'm still looking to spend $500. So I put a $700 guitar in front of them. Why would I put a $700 guitar? So they understood what a couple more $100 would give them in difference, in value. I'd show them the
value.
Right?
That's my favorite.
The value, they created their own value. I didn't talk them into a $700 guitar or a $1,000 guitar. I just showed them what else was available, because a lot of times they didn't know what their money could buy. So if they could buy it, they could buy it. I never sat over somebody saying, are you going to buy this? You're going to buy this? You're going to buy this? No, I just let them sit there. Let people sit and play a guitar for an hour. And if they got annoying, I give them headphones so they could sit there for 2 hours while I was working on another deal. And I'd work 3 deals at the time. And my boss would be like, how are you keeping all these people happy? And they're like, well, they're happy. Yeah, because they all have big fat smiles when they're freaking giving you their credit card. I was like, yeah, because I give them space. Let them sell themselves. If you fill a need, there's no need to sell. And so that's what I did for my first million in my business. is I just went out people. Our first tactic was selling business cards. Okay. So I had this homeless business cards. I sold business cards. It was my first pitch. I had a homeless guy that helped me paint my studio. He needed a place to stay, the whole thing there. So I was helping him out. So everything was taken care of. He was really good with a brush. It was awesome. So I'm giving him cash and the whole thing. He's living at the homeless shelter right across the street. So that's where he'd have to go. Like by 5 o'clock, he had to be there so he could have a bed for the night. Okay, great. So that's another story for another day. But
sure,
when we're all done, it was like, what a screen you would have. I was like, there's this phone book right here. And we had just partnered with Vistaprint, and I could print full color business cards and sell them at a profit for as much as the local printers were selling 1 and 2 color business cards. I said, you need to call every business in town that I can drive to and ask them who prints their business cards. And after they asked that, I says, do they do full color? No. What if I could give you full color business cards for what you're paying for a 1 or 2 color business card right now? I would be amazed. Okay, great. Buzz will be there at blah, 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 and then set it up, and then I'd go. And I had a little portfolio.
You had the homeless guy doing
before and afters, all this stuff. And they would get all stoked. And they go, yes, I want them. Okay, great. Can I have your graphic design files so that I can print them? Well, we don't have full color graphic design because we've been doing the two color. Oh, no worries. We have a graphic designer who can do that for you for another $55.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we built up a good, and then after that, they're like, well, we can't have these 1 and 2 color postcards anymore, and our envelopes need to be full color, and all the other things that go along with it. And our brochure needs to be full color. And so we would build up that and basically upgrade their marketing.
Yeah.
Done. And we get all that graphic design on the back end.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, where's your website? What website? I heard about these websites. These are cool, aren't they? Because it's new stuff, right? Like,
of course.
I think I can afford a website.
Yeah.
Sure you can.
Sure you can.
So then we go to that. And then we go, so you need a video on your website. Video on my website.
Wow.
Oh my God, that would be so cool. Okay,
so
great.
cool.
We got a videographer will come over here and do a little synopsis of your what you're selling, what makes you different. We'll put that on your homepage. That is so cool, Buzz. You're awesome. Ah. And just fill it up from there. But it was one thing at a time with every client.
Yeah. And you had an introductory offer that was low cost, low risk. It was like a no-brainer. Because you created so much value. It's so smart.
This is the funny thing. I don't do that anymore.
No.
I know. I said I just had a consultation with a medical provider, and I told him what he actually needed was a fractional CMO. That's what I do now. I don't make business
fractional
cards.
CMO. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right.
When you're first starting, you got to do something. Like when you're first starting out.
Yeah, when you're first starting out, you got to start wherever you can. And back then, I didn't know that I was a marketer.
Yeah.
Nobody gave me permission to be a marketer.
Okay.
I had imposter syndrome for over a decade and a half. I have on this shelf behind me, I have AMA awards from American Marketing Association, up the wazoo, Visionary Marketer of the Year, Marketer of the Year, Pinnacle Awards, all that crap. Okay. I have so much glass. And I still, in 2013, 2014, didn't believe that I was as good of a marketer as anybody else in the state.
Yeah.
Even though the associations that say who is the best told me I was.
Yeah. I can relate to you because I told you off camera, and everybody who listens to this podcast knows that I worked at a car dealership as the marketing director and took them from the second worst dealership in Western Canada to number 1. I don't need to repeat the stats. And I had the imposter syndrome. I didn't even know it existed until Jeff Sauer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jeff Sauer.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he owns, I can't remember, but he's an analytics guy, but he started his own agency anyway, I won't get into Jeff, but
no worries.
But anyway, I had Jeff on the show. Data Driven You is what his website is. And he started his own agency that he exited and sold. And he sent down an email with the subject line, "Do you suffer from the imposter syndrome?" And everything in that email, every line that he said was describing me. I told you offline that I spend a half hour every day watching LinkedIn Learning or some kind of digital marketing videos on 2 times speed because I never thought I knew enough. And then I went into the dealership and I crushed it with everything that I was doing. And it was just normal to me. And my friend came up from Florida to help the dealership in back-end marketing. I won't get into it, but I said, do other dealers have someone like me? He's not, nobody has anybody like you on the entire continent that I've met. And he was on the cover of NADA magazine, so he knows what he's talking about. But the point I'm trying to make is I had all this success and this knowledge and all these things, and yet I never thought I was good enough. I never gave my permission to call, just like you, to call myself a marketer. And when Jeff sent out that email, I might get a little emotional here. It changed my life because it unpacked the box of me knowing that I had this syndrome. So I overcame it, by the way. I read a book. I can't remember what it's called, but it was on Amazon. And it's a book about imposter syndrome written by a psychologist. And I realized I didn't have to be an expert. I didn't have to be, number one, I'm not Dan Kennedy. I'm not Joe Polish. I'm not Perry Marshall. I'm not Ryan Dice. I'm Matt Fraser. And I've learned all these things and I can implement all these things. And I have like you, I have a knack for it and I have an ability for it. And I can see things that aren't there and I can build funnels and I can visualize things and just, oh yeah, you should do, I can do this and do that. Yeah, do this. And I've just given it away for free because I didn't think I could charge for it like you. So that was my moment. And one thing that helped me, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I want to find out what helped you, because what helped me was realizing those things and just unpacking those things and not comparing myself to others and not thinking that I had to be the all-seeing seer of knowing everything about marketing. And that even if I didn't know it, I could figure it out. And then I went to get my certification for the OMCP, Online Marketing Certified Professional Certification. And I scored rather high on the test. I won't say the number because I don't want to boast. But I scored much higher than the median average of what people score on the curve to pass. And so that helped me too. But all these things have helped me. And what was the defining moment that you actually found out that this is a thing, the imposter syndrome? And then how did you overcome it? Or how have you taken steps to overcome it?
So I think the beginning was you asked earlier, like, how did I get good at all the things that were cutting edge back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And and that's through just doing, right?
Yeah.
When I started teaching at like the Chamber of Commerce, I do like lunch and learns about digital marketing. How do you use emails to market your company?
Yeah.
How does social media fit into your marketing strategy, ... I had agencies, big ad agencies, sending their people to come learn from me.
Wow.
Okay. All I was doing was digging. I just digged and dug and dug. I was the strategist for my company. I finally got myself a sales staff and all I did was go out and talk. I was the front person, just like a Neil Patel, Joe Polish, and all those guys right there. That's all they do now. It's like, it's all strategy and they have people who get this stuff done. Yeah. Okay, great. So I had learned from that, like that was the model. That's how you did that. If you're good on stage, you go do that. That's your job as the CEO of your company. Okay, great. Did it. Problem was I wasn't practicing it. I was all strategy. Okay. But I put people around me again that knew how to take what I started with, and then they were creative enough to test things. And I'm very scientific with my marketing. So we're always testing. Okay, let's try this. Let's try that. Problem was I never thought that what we were offering was something that people would be able to pay or would be willing to pay a premium for. And so I learned, that's how I grew my company broke. I wasn't charging enough. And I was recruiting the wrong type of businesses into my company. And that's why the profitabilities went down the tubes. Okay. Now, that all said, when I decided to reinvent how I did business, I became a marketer again. I wasn't a spokesperson anymore. I went from 22 employees down to 3. Okay. And I started over as a virtual company in the beginning of 2019 before it was cool. Okay. And built everything back up. I had 300 companies that we were serving with Buzzbizz Creative. Yeah. Down to, I think we narrowed that down to, I think we got it like initially down to 60. And that got boiled down to 12 and then built it up back from there. Okay. Wow. Through that process, the reason of all that attrition was I was learning what wasn't profitable. And the more I read on things that are out there, because this is now 2018, there's a lot of books out there about the stuff that I've been doing. I found out that I'm reading what I've been doing over and over and over again. And so I'm not learning anything by reading these books. So I must be onto something. So I need to just keep doing what I've been doing and innovating, right? Yeah. How we approach SEO. We don't call it SEO where I'm at my company because I created a methodology called digital engagement optimization, because all the traffic in the world is not going to do you any good if nobody's engaging with your website and converting.
Absolutely.
American Marketing Association said, mind blown, gave me a friggin' award. And I've been selling that ever since. Okay.
Right on.
I'm creating that because I'm seeing the needs. I'm a need-based marketer. What do you need? You need new clients. What kind of clients do you need? All that stuff. So then I went to college, right? I went to college. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a marketing degree, because then if I have a marketing degree, I can charge the big bucks. I can charge what I'm worth, because
that's what Dan teaches.
The case studies, I've got everything to back me up, right? But I still didn't feel validated there. So I went and started the marketing, and I got into my first marketing class, and I'm like, this is not how marketing happens. So none of this is all bullshit.
Does not surprise me. Does not surprise me at all. Yeah, my friend
I changed my major immediately into small business management, because I'm a business, and maybe I obviously didn't do it the first time because I grew it broke, right?
Grew it broke.
It didn't teach me much. The funny thing is, I had a minor in entrepreneurship because they had that. And I didn't learn a lot and much there. But the nice thing was that it kept validating what I already knew. And then I read a book. It was called Profit First by Mike McCalloway.
Shut the front door. I know exactly what you're talking about, because you and I have had such a similar journey. It's mind-boggling. Keep going.
I learned that I didn't have a marketing expertise problem. I had a money mindset problem. And once I understood my relationship with money, and then flipped it on its head, like Mike McCalloway teaches people how to do, my world turned upside down. My rates have 5x'd over the last 4 years. And the amount of services that I offer have shrunk to probably about 20 or 30% of what it ever was at the height of my relaunch. I'm not even talking about when we had a creative agency. It's 1/10 of what we used to offer as a creative agency.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've also learned that collaboration makes me an even better marketer. So I don't have to learn all of the things. I just learn the things I'm really interested in. And I make sure that I keep experts on the other stuff really close to me. So as a strategist, I go, yes, Mr. or Mrs. Client, this is something that I know enough to be dangerous about. And now we're going to bring in this expert to execute it. And then I put the best of the best on their team, so that they'll never leave me, because they're like, Buzz always puts the best tools in front of us to make us money.
Yeah.
And now I've learned that's my job. My job is to understand the strategy, get it on paper so that they understand it, and then put the people in place that can best execute it, and then manage that from there. And I do the same thing with SEO.
Yeah.
That's the only tactic that we
now,
do
or people that are subcontracted. Sorry. Are those people who work for you now? They work you when you say you put them in the business? Are these subcontractors that come and work for your clients?
No,
or are they people?
No, they're other entrepreneurs that are in the marketing. I just make friends with all the agencies out there that are social media agencies and anything that doesn't have to do, well, even strategists and SEOs that don't do service-based businesses, because that's who we focus on. So I have friends who are SEOs in e-commerce, SEOs for retail, SEOs for hospitality, SEOs for real estate. These are industries we do not touch.
Yeah.
I give that to them. And then what they do is they go, I don't want to deal with financial advisors and home contractors and medical specialists. They're a pain in my butt. I said, I know how to talk to them. Bring them to me. I've got it. And so we have those three. We have those three verticals in SEO, and everything gets farmed to other agencies. And we have an agreement like, hey, listen, let's all work in our power and do the best we can for our clients, so we have clients forever.
Yeah.
And let's make each other money. So they pay me a little extra for bringing them clients, and I pay them extra for bringing them clients. So it's not that I'm not making as much money, but guess what? I keep my bandwidth for where my team's power is. And so now I'm more profitable because we're not trying to figure crap out every day. We're fine tuning what we're already good at.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't remember his name. Friends with him on Facebook. He has a 7-figure agency.
Seven-figure agency.
Josh Nelson.
What's his name? I know who you're talking about.
Josh Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Nelson. There we go.
And he talks about how you should. Yeah. I think every agency owner should read it. And how you should. So what you've done is you've picked a niche and picked only a certain set of services that are profitable, but you've also positioned yourself.
Profitable for me.
Profitable for you.
See, not everybody's good at SEO. Not everybody's good at strategy.
True.
Some people are really tactical in nature. And so they're really good at, say, social media advertising. Okay, great. Be really good at it. Be the best you can be.
Yeah.
And that will make you profitable. Because if you're really good at it, it's the back of your hand, you can train other people to do it, it's scalable. But if you're always trying to figure crap out, like when we were a creative agency, we never said no. Oh, we want to do X, Y, Z. Okay, great. We'll figure that out. And then we would undercharge to figure stuff out for people.
Yeah.
That's the most inefficient and unprofitable way to do business, is to continue to create new products per client versus having services that you're really good at and finding clients that need that service specifically. And when they don't, be a resource for them to point them in the right direction. Because I'm telling you right now, it's the business that I have referred out that has created more money than the business that I tried to keep that didn't fit.
Unbelievable.
Because those people are like, oh, Buzz put us in touch with Bob. And Bob's actually the person who was going to be a better fit for us. He's awesome. You should go talk to him, because if he can't help you, he will let you know who can.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now I get an opportunity to say no more often, making me more profitable every day.
That's unbelievable. That's a huge story and a gold nugget for people who are agency owners to take away from this.
I hope so, because I wish for the day,
absolutely.
I dream of the day that we all understand there's more business out there than all of us combined can handle.
Yeah.
If we just focused on where we're the most profitable and most passionate about, the businesses we serve will be better served. Business will be stronger in the United States. The middle class will be returned, because we won't have the have and have nots. We'll have all these people in different echelons of business, all succeeding at their own level and progressing through the middle class. Because some people are okay being a couple $100,000 companies. They're lifestyle businesses. But right now, what we have are these solopreneurs who are trying to get to six figures, and the people who figured out, oh, I can get six figure and get seven and seven double, and nobody in the between.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody wants to work either with an Inc. 5000, or they want to take money from people who have no money.
You're talking about the small businesses? Like,
I'm talking about agencies. I'm talking about agencies. Yeah, they either got like this. I was like, hey, we'll work with you for 90 days. And if it doesn't do this, then we'll work for free until it does.
Yeah, no, that's not a way to have a business.
You're gonna work yourself out of business that way, right?
Yeah,
you're going, hey, you know what? We're gonna go. I know somebody over at Microsoft, and we're gonna get in, and blah 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 blah. Or the people over at Spanx need this, and so we're gonna sell this. And it's like the Inc. 500. There's only 500 companies. The Inc. 5000 only has 5,000 companies, and half of them are marketing companies. So that means you have 2,500 companies that you're gonna go after. Everybody's going after them.
Yeah.
Yet there's millions of small businesses at every echelon in between. Find your niche. Find out who you connect with. Find out where when you get done with it for the day and you close your computer and you say, you know what? I just helped somebody put their kids through college today.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much better is your business when you realize the things that are more important than just money?
Yeah. Being a marketer can be very rewarding, because we can have such an impact on people's lives and livelihoods. Like I said,
my whole mission's around that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like the
entrepreneurial poverty is something very real in this country. And my mission is to eradicate it.
Oh, I'm so inspired, honestly. I could talk to you for another hour, but I know that we're at the top of the hour. And it's
we did it. Time flies.
This has been fascinating. I would love to have you back on the show.
I'd love to.
And it's been an absolute pleasure. How can people connect with you online, our audience connect with you online if they choose to do so?
If you want to check out my book, it's called The Rule of 26, and where I basically boiled down the only 3 KPIs that you really need to pay attention to and website marketing. And that's at ruleof26.com. And then if you want to see what we're doing right now, my website, I'm the cobbler with bad shoes. Yep. Yeah, but go to buzzworthy.biz and check out what we're doing there.
Yeah, but you're on LinkedIn.
And then LinkedIn, Michael Buzinski. Yeah. And then my podcast, it's youarebuzzworthy.biz.
Yeah. And it's a cool podcast. I highly suggest you guys check it out. So
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute blast. And I really hope to get to speak to you again.
That would be great. I'd love to share.
Right on.